The floorboards creaked under Mila's weight as she entered the attic of her grandmother's house, long abandoned and draped in an eerie silence. Dust motes danced in the shafts of pale light that streamed through a grimy window. In the far corner, her eye caught sight of an old wooden door, its surface worn smooth over years but sealed tight with a rusty latch that begged to be opened. A yellowed piece of parchment fluttered beside it, its edges curled from age, and the words scrawled upon it were unmistakable. "Do not open." Mila hesitated. A faint, musty smell enveloped her, the kind that whispered of secrets buried long ago. She let her fingers brush the faded latch, feeling the cold metal against her skin. The air around her grew dense, as though the house itself held its breath, waiting. A hollow echo of silence enveloped the room, only broken by the rhythmic whir of a distant ceiling fan, vibrating against a current that felt too electric, too alive. As she leaned closer to the door, she felt a chill weave through her bones, a stark contrast to the warmth radiating in her cheeks. Something about the door radiated a wrongness, a nagging sensation that pulled at her instincts like a frayed thread. The air thickened, almost cloying, and her heart began to pound in tandem with the soft thuds of her footsteps echoing in the confined space. She pried the latch cautiously with shaking fingers. A resounding click echoed across the attic, and the door groaned open, revealing darkness thicker than the shadows around her. A juncture of pungent mildew, mixed with the faintest hint of something sweet and rotten, wafted out, curling around her, inviting yet bizarrely repelling. What lay beyond was a small room lined with forgotten relics. Dusty shelves overflowed with bottles filled with unidentifiable substances that shimmered in the dim light, and at the center stood an ornate mirror, its glass cracked but still glinted sinisterly, as if holding secrets untold. The smell intensified as she stepped inside, the sweetness now taking on a sharp, almost metallic edge, like the scent of iron lingering just beyond the edge of perception. Mila's pulse quickened as she gazed into the fractured mirror. Her own reflection stared back, but with a subtle shift. It smiled, ever so slightly, while she stood in shock, her mouth frozen in disbelief. The lighting dimmed further, shadows roiling against the edges of her vision as the temperature plummeted. Her breath misted before her, forming ghostly clouds in the cold air of a room that should not have been cold at all. Suddenly, a low whisper breathed through the air, its source vying for recognition. "Stay. I have been waiting." The mirror pulsed with energy, the glass rippling like water, and in that moment she realized the truth. The reflection that wore her face did not belong to her. The fear gripped her whole as she staggered backward, feeling the weight of unseen eyes upon her, hunger disguised as longing. She bolted out of the room, slamming the door shut, the echo reverberating through the attic. She rushed down the narrow staircase, the dusty air scratching at her throat, drowning her thoughts in urgency. Once outside, she swallowed the cool evening air, as if fleeing from a nightmare. Glancing back at the house illuminated by the moonlight, its silhouette loomed like a predator. She never returned. The warning burned into her memory. Some doors should never be opened, for what lies behind them doesn't merely dwell in darkness, it craves the light of unsuspecting souls. In the end, Mila learned that some secrets are not meant to be unearthed. The attic of her grandmother's house stood still, draped in shadows, waiting patiently for the next curious heart to ignore its warning.